MMA show around the world. My name's Mighty. Thank you so much for joining me. Oh, it's here. It's finally here. The weekend we've all been waiting for as fight fans. This has to be the biggest fight this year, at least for hype, if nothing else. I know some people don't get as excited for some of the lighter weights. Not the lightweight specifically, but the lighter weights. Typically like lightweight and under, I guess. I don't know. Anyways, we're not going to get quite to that yet. We're going to wait to the end of the episode. But first, let's talk about this past weekend. Bellator 147 in San Jose, Northern California. Good times as always. So blessed to get to do media coverage, cage side for Bellator quite often. So I am very grateful for that. Thank you, the powers that be that grant me such credentials to do so. And I always meet the coolest people. Always meet the coolest people. So Josh Thompson comes in, does his thing, has his first headlining event for Bellator, gets his victory via stoppage. So kudos to him. It looks like he wants to fight Michael Chandler. That's what the fans are asking for, although I think with the way Scott Coker does MMA math, he's aligned to fight Will Brooks for the title if he wanted to. I mean, I think that makes more sense. He says that the fans want to see him against Chandler. I don't say that that's a bad match. I think it's a good match. I think, why don't you fight Will Brooks? And if you beat Will Brooks and get the title, at the same time have Chandler on that card fighting somebody, and if Chandler gets a win, and then him and Chandler can fight for the title. MMA math, that's how you do it right there. Boom. Just call me Albert Einstein of MMA. I don't know. Anyways, so that's what went down this past weekend. San Jose, Bellator 147. Let's jump into what happened last night on TUF. And actually, to take a step prior to that, earlier in the morning, somebody had posted an article that was released stating what the TUF finale was going to be. Now, normally it's not that big of a deal, but in this case, one of the people that was mentioned was already eliminated from the season. So you got to think to yourself, is this a misprint? Or is something going to happen that's unexpected? Well, long and behold, I watched the episode, and that's exactly what happened. Saul Rogers won his fight against Ryan Hall, which put him in the semifinals. And then Artem beats Juicy from Team America. So that would put Saul and Artem against each other in the finale. I guess Saul had issues with his visa. I guess he lied about it or whatnot. Couldn't get back into the States to fight at the finale. So they yanked him, obviously, because he can't get here. They put Ryan Hall back in, because that was the opponent he fought against for the semifinals. And then there you have it. So now it's Ryan Hall against Artem Lobov. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. That's Conor McGregor's boy, like right-hand man, basically. And that'll be the TUF finale for Friday night, which is tomorrow. So, and that's part of the three for which we'll get to in a second. But I was just kind of upset that not the person that posted on Twitter, he's just trying to share the information and be like, what the hell's going on? Which I agree. It sucks that the spoiler is out there, but why would they release that, obviously, well ahead of time of the finale airing? It's kind of dumb. This isn't the first time they've messed up, specifically on The Ultimate Fighter. When the strawweights were fighting, the strawweight females were fighting, they showed a bracket in the beginning of the episode, and it already showed who had won before the fight actually had taken place. So I know these are maybe small issues, but when you're at that level, get your proofreader, your editor, whatever, make sure everything's all good. Obviously, when the strawweights were fighting to show who won in the bracket before the fight even happened. I mean, granted, it was in the same episode, but it was literally in the beginning of the episode, and the fight was at the end of the episode. So, instant spoiler for that if you're watching it live. And then, obviously, what happened yesterday with releasing the information early about Ryan Hall coming back because he had already been eliminated. I like that matchup, by the way. Ryan Hall versus Artem. Ryan Hall, he said he was not a one-trick pony, but when he fought Saul, he didn't seem as well-rounded as he stated. So we'll have to see what's happened since then. Coincidentally, Artem and Ryan were actually training with one another just weeks prior to Ryan Hall getting the call saying, hey, you're going to be fighting Artem. So that was funny. I guess Artem was helping Ryan with striking, and Hall was helping Artem with, did I just say that right? Artem was helping Hall with striking. Hall was helping Artem with his jiu-jitsu. So, in any case, it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow night for the finale. All right, so let's get into it. It's here. And we got 3 fights as far as the UFC goes. There's actually 5 fights within 72 hours. So, Thursday night, we have UFC Fight Night 80. Boom. Craziness. Friday night, we have the TUF finale. Saturday night, we have UFC 194. Also this weekend, we have RFA 33 and we have ONE FC. Brandon Vera's fighting for the title on that. Now, I'm not going to get into every fight and every fight card because there's way too much to talk about. But I will basically touch on the bigger fights, the title fights, the main events, what have you. So, starting with Fight Night 80. By the way, all these UFC events are all in Las Vegas, which makes sense. That way Dana can be there and go to all 3. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that the UFC has done 3 fights all back-to-back like this. They have done a couple of back-to-back, like a Saturday-Sunday or a Friday-Saturday, but I can't recall them ever doing 3 in a row within 24 hours of each other, roughly 24 hours of each other. So in any case, UFC Fight Night 80, headlined by Rose Namajunas versus Paige Van Zandt, also known as Thug Rose versus PVZ. Interesting matchup. Originally, it was supposed to be Joanne Calderwood, against PVC. PVC. I'm thinking, I got this. So, and then JoJo gets hurt. Rose steps in. Boom. That's a big change. I mean, JoJo's no slouch, don't get me wrong. Rose, very technical fighter. She's got crazy submissions, flying arm bars, standing guillotines. She's crafty. So this will be an interesting fight. Paige, on the other hand, she goes in there and she's like, and this isn't to be disrespectful, but she's almost like Leonard Garcia. She just goes in there, throws caution to the wind, and just goes insane. She goes for scrambles, but she's good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think she takes a little bit too much damage, and that's what she needs to work on, because she goes in with reckless abandonment, and she gets caught, per se. She gets in predicaments, but she ends up getting out. She might get in a grapple and get in a position that isn't necessarily good, and then she gets out, and then she'll get the better of the grapple exchange. So it's interesting to see. I don't think she can do that against Rose. Rose is too technical. You get in those predicaments, you're probably not going to get out because Rose will capitalize. So I can see this fight going either way. I'm not going to make fight predictions on any of these fights because all the ones I'm going to talk about, I feel they're so close. I haven't looked at the odds to see, who's favored and who's the underdog. But I know just stylistically the matchups in my mind I'm thinking about. I can see all of these fights I'm going to speak of going a variety of different directions. So in any case, that's going to be the headline on UFC Fight Night 80. That's tonight. That's Thursday. So tomorrow night, we have the TUF finale. That's going to be headlined by Frankie Edgar against Chad Mendes. Once again, it's a close fight. I think if I had to give the edge, I'm going to give it to Frankie. I mean, we're talking ex-world champion. He's seen the best, and Chad has too, don't get me wrong. Chad only has 3 losses, and it's to basically champions. I mean, Conor is the interim featherweight champion when he just lost to Conor in July, and then he's lost to Jose twice. And other than that, he's beaten everybody. He has a lot of power, but Frankie can absorb a lot of punishment. I mean, we've seen him get hit. We've seen what happened when he fought Gray Maynard and he got lit up and he came back. Or, well, the first time was a draw. The second time he gets the win on the most 2 recent fights that they had. They have 3 total. But the guy is just like, he kind of really is the today's Rocky. I mean, he's kind of that story, you know what I mean? He's from Jersey, and you know, it's I know Rocky was from Philly, but it's the tri-state area. It's close in proximity. But in any case, the kid has so much heart. I know I say kid, but I don't know why. I guess it's the East Coast thing. Hey, kid, you know what I'm saying? Now, I'm from New York, by the way, originally. If you viewers did not know, I'm originally from New York. Yes, I'm in Cali now. I love Cali. Still love the tri-state area as well, don't get me wrong. But I am originally from New York. In any case, that's a whole different story. Edgar versus Mendez. I would give the slight edge to Frankie, but I could see this fight going any way. Either way as well. It's going to be a good matchup. I'm excited to see that fight as well. And then for the TUF finale, like I mentioned earlier, it's going to be Artem against Ryan Hall. And now it is a true Team Europe against Team USA, because originally it looked like it was going to be Europe versus Europe. Different countries, but still is going to be both Team Europes. But now that Saul's out, Ryan Hall steps in. I like this matchup. I like this matchup more than the original. I think Saul is a decent fighter, but he tends to be more of the lay and pray. I mean, he has some decent striking, but I don't know. I just don't. I think this could be a more. I just find this stylistically more intriguing, because one's going to want to keep it on the feet and the other one's going to want to take it to the ground. I don't care if Ryan's striking has gotten better. He does not going to possess the power that Artem has. So if he's smart and he puts his pride aside, he's going to try to take it to the ground and do what he does best. And that's different type of leg submissions, whether it's a heel hook, a knee bar, something of that nature. And I would just go for that. I can see this fight going either way as well. Once again, I'm not going to really pick it. I'm going to go coin toss. I have not checked the odds, if I haven't mentioned, which I did, but I'm saying it again. All right, the next night, UFC 194. Jeez, it seems like it's been forever, especially when Jose pulled out earlier and for the July fight, and Chad stepped up and fought, which was still an entertaining fight. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoyed it very much. But this is the fight that we have been waiting for, at least me. I know I can speak for at least a good percentage of the fight fans out there. Whether you love Jose or hate Jose, or love Conor or hate Conor, this is a fight that has a lot of question marks around it. So before I get to it and break it down, let's talk about a couple other fights, because there are actually some other huge fights on this card. Let's start with, what about Yoel Romero against Jacare? That's a huge fight. I mean, that is main event worthy by itself. And once again, these styles, I mean, you have one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners. I won't say he's the best, but he's damn near one of the best. Probably top 3. I mean, Damian Maia's up there, who's also on this fight card. And there's a couple other jiu-jitsu guys, but Jacare is definitely, I would say, top 3, top 5 for sure. And then you have an Olympic medalist in freestyle wrestling. So, the styles is interesting. And now they're both getting better with striking. I think Romero has probably more of an unorthodox striking. He comes at odd angles. Jacare is more of a traditional, and his striking has gotten much improved over his last 4 or 5 fights. I cannot wait to see this fight. It is going to be phenomenal. I'm not going to pick anybody, but that is one of the 3 on this fight card I will talk about. The next one, well, middleweight title, hello, another main event worthy match. Luke Rockhold fighting against Chris Weidman, who will be defending his middleweight title. Everyone still has all this doubt with Weidman that he's not legitimate. He beat Anderson Silva. Oh, Anderson Silva was messing around. And then he beats him again. Oh, but he broke his leg. And then he beats Machida, but it wasn't a great performance. And he beats Vitor, but Vitor wasn't on TRT. So there's also, I personally give him respect. I think Chris Weidman is definitely legit. I'm not saying he is the best middleweight champion we've ever had, but he is a legitimate fighter. Now, Luke Rockhold, another legitimate fighter, ex-Strikeforce champion. I think the styles with these guys, and once again, it's stylistically, it's very close. I don't know who to pick. I am excited to see this fight, though. I'm just sad that they have to play second fiddle to the main event because the main event is so big. I think they want to see if they could break records with this pay-per-view and the gate. From what I heard, they've already broken the gate record with the sales. So, but now we have to see what we can do on pay-per-view buys. Or not we, but UFC, Dana White, Lorenzo, those peeps. I would have probably put Weidman and Luke Rockhold on their own title fight main event card by themselves, but I get it. We'll see what happens. All right, let's talk about the main event of the evening. Interim featherweight champion Conor McGregor against featherweight champion Jose Aldo. I've played this fight over and over again in my head, and every time it's a different outcome. I can see this going a variety of different ways. I'm so excited to see this fight, and I think regardless of how this ends, not only am I going to be super excited, I'm going to be surprised, and I'm not going to be surprised because I can really see this ending in so many different varieties, and that's what makes this such an intriguing match. Now, I know, like Joe Rogan, he'll hype up fights, and he'll say, oh, blah, 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 blah. Like, how many people really saw Holly Holm destroying Ronda Rousey the way they did? I know a lot of people will say they did, but who really believed that there was going to be destruction? I mean, there's always that chance, yeah, she's going to lose, but to do something like that and actually see it was insane. Kind of like when Anderson Silva broke his leg and it wrapped around Chris Weidman's leg 16 times like a candy cane. You know, it was insane to actually see it, even though it always could happen. To actually see it live and be surrounded by your fellow fight fans and friends, it is just So let's talk about this. Conor McGregor, he hasn't even fought in the UFC for 3 years yet. All of his fights have been finishes with the exception of one, and that was against Max Holloway. He actually tore his ACL. He wins by decision. It was actually still a decent performance considering, I guess he said he tore it halfway through the first round or something of that nature. So to fight injured with a tore ACL and still get a victory, that shows you some heart and tenacity right there. So let's say that. The rest of them finishes. And the people he's fought aren't slouches. Yeah, his first fight, Marcus Grimmage, not the most difficult fight for Conor to come into. But, you know, you don't want to give him a top 10 opponent when he first comes in. But he's fought Dustin Poirier, Dennis Seaver, Chad Mendez, Diego Brandao. So, I mean, he's fought against some tough opponents. Now, he'll be fighting his toughest opponent, Jose Aldo. You cannot take anything away from this man. This guy has basically not been beat in 10 years. Who does that? 10 years. That's insane. He is the only featherweight champion that the UFC has ever had. I mean, obviously, Conor, interim champ. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think that was warranted to do an interim featherweight championship belt when Chad and Conor fought. But I get it in a business aspect, and this is what I'll say. So you have to look at it like this. This is my thoughts. And I don't know if this is accurate, but this is how I think the UFC and Dana and Lorenzo were thinking. They do it as an interim because if Chad wins, do you really want to just see another, a third fight between them, especially so soon? Not a lot of people want to see that. But if he has the interim title, they have to unify it. Now it's champion versus champion. They can sell it. If Conor won and there wasn't a belt up for grabs, it wasn't going to matter. It would still have all the mystique and all the hype around the fight. So I think the belt was more for if Chad won that fight, not so much if Conor won. Tell me if you think that makes sense. Comment below. Send me a tweet, whatever. That's my thought on it anyway. Of course, it doesn't hurt having Conor having an interim title. But, I mean, we've seen champions out a lot longer. I mean, Jose pulled out for one fight. You know, we've seen champions pull out for years. I mean, I think Dominic Cruz didn't get stripped for well after a year and a half, maybe 2 years before they stripped his title from him. So, to do it so quick, that's my thought, more of a business angle. I ain't mad at him. The bottom line, MMA is a sport, but the UFC is a business. Never get that confused. This is still a business. So when people get mad about all the different decisions being made, it's still a business. MMA is the sport. UFC is the business. Anyways, the fight, Jose, Conor, I don't know. I would really be interested to see what you guys thought. I actually took a poll, and it was what we call, as poker players, a coin flip. 51% to 49%. That's pretty much split down the middle for the most part. So, and that was, I forget how many voters. You can see the picture that I put up. It says how many votes there was. I think it was 115 or something of that nature. But that's a fair amount of votes for to be split down the middle. So roughly, 55 people one way, and or 56 and 57, whatever it is, whatever the math. You guys do the math. I'm not going to do the math. You guys do the math. But in any case, super excited to see this fight. I cannot wait. But I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to wait a couple more days. I'm about to get up out of here, go edit this right quick, and then go watch UFC Fight Night 80 on UFC Fight Pass, and then enjoy the rest of the weekend of fights. You too, my friends. Enjoy all your fights. Don't forget to subscribe on all platforms of social media, especially YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Morbid Manor. And I always have it popped up on banners while I'm yapping, during each week. For what it's worth, one episode left. That'll be next week, and then I'll be on break for 4 or 5 weeks for the holidays and gearing up with new stuff to come. All you t-shirt winners, be ready. Shirts are getting shipped out in a few days. Almost everybody will have them before Christmas, except for the people that are in different countries. You'll probably get them probably closer to the end of the year. But in any case, they're coming soon. Every single one of you that wants something. Next week, I will be raffling, or not raffling, I'll be giving away something very special. So stay tuned and watch that. You're going to want to see what I'm giving out. It's something cool, and it's very unique, and it's one of 3 in existence. So there you go. In any case, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend of fights. See ya.